Recording right now. Okay, so I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, John Kane. He is my amazing, incredible boss, but he is also the executive director of sales development in Vector East. He really just helps people do awesome things, and I really appreciate him taking the time out of his schedule. He's out in the West Coast right now at an RM meeting, but he's taking time out of his schedule to talk to the branches about, all things regarding SC2 and working with the team. So thank you so much, John, for taking the time out of your schedule, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, thank you, Shelby. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share a couple thoughts, some thoughts of gratitude for you, first of all. Last year, this time, you weren't on the team. You were always a member of the family. And we had a chance to meet a bunch of years ago. I had never had any thought that maybe we'd get a chance to work together like this. But I just really want to say thank you for the tremendous work you're doing to support our branch manager group. I am hearing feedback about people are feeling the love. They're loving the support, whether it's the Facebook group, the visits. And I really admire the way you've approached this summer with your work ethic and your passion. I had dinner with Bruce Goodman the other night, and he said, "Holy cow, Shelby Wildgust, tell me about what's happening there." I said, well, I have a nice long report to give at the meeting here just to talk about, the inspired thought of what does it look like to support our branch manager team better. But in fact, it's really lifting the whole company up. And I just want to thank you for being willing to be a stand for people and digging in and doing the work. And it's not easy being on the road. It's not easy traveling. So I want to start by thanking you. Secondly, I really want to thank our branch manager group. And, I'm definitely excited about SC2 Push. I'm excited about it because obviously it's a good time for our company. A lot of transformation happens. A lot of good things happen. But I have some personal philosophies that go deeper and broader and wider. And I think sometimes in the middle of a push, it's good to take a step back and think about where you are, what you're doing, what got you here, and what we're really doing. And so what I want to say first is thank you. Just the decision to become a branch manager, or the decision to take a minute to listen to a call like this, or the decision to go for something like an SC2 push, it deserves to be recognized. And I know that there's going to be a point here in a couple of weeks where people stand on stage, and what I've found is that I don't care if you're the number 1 person or the number 51 person. I've found that most people standing on that stage rarely feel totally satisfied. And so if we think that SC2 Push is about winning a trophy or winning an award, that the satisfaction moves very quickly. But what I can tell you is that there are situations and dynamics where people are standing on that stage, and regardless of the sales result, there's many times where people do feel satisfied with their effort. Or when they look at their team members, they feel very satisfied because they've seen people undergo a transformation. And so when I think about SC2 Push, and this might sound like, sacrilegious coming from a company executive, okay? What matters most in SC2 Push is not where you end up, but where you end up from where you started. Because everybody started SC2 in a different place with their team, with their summer. And, one of the things I can share with you, and you've heard me say this before, is you can't always measure personal growth by a number on a piece of paper. Certainly we sell stuff and we measure that and we look at that, and that's really cool. But I know from selling and working that there's some days where I went out and did a mediocre effort, but I sold a lot. There's some days where I worked really hard and the results didn't show it. But what SC2, and I think what this business teaches us, is that if we consistently move toward growth and toward helping people get what they want, ultimately, we end up getting what we want. And so SC2 is a chapter in your life here, and it's an important one. It's an important one because in that space and time of a lot of effort, that's where we're transformed. And so my wish for each of you is that over the course of this time period, that you experience some personal transformation that may show up as massive CPO. Cool if that happens. However, it's possible that the transformation you experience these 2 weeks shows up at school, in your job, in your marriage, in your friendships, in real life, in ways that you can't put a price on. One of the reasons I love our company and I believe in so much what we're doing is I have the opportunity to work with people in the whole system, factory workers, executives, alumni. Recently, Shelby was a critical part of helping us facilitate an alumni event. And if you could be face-to-face with people who were branch managers 10 years ago who just showed up because we sent them a LinkedIn or a Facebook invite and hear them talk about how their life is so different. And these are people who at the time, several of them said, I wasn't happy with my result, okay? There's only one silver cup, everybody. And there's a lot of other great, amazing human beings that don't win a silver cup. So this might sound like the demotivating, don't sell anything phone call. I want to apologize because that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is sometimes in the midst of a situation like this, we need to pick our head up and really look around and remember what we're doing. There's a good chance that you're here because somewhere along this journey, you stumble along this knife thing. Maybe it was a PR, maybe you got a letter. I don't know your story. But I can tell you something happened that made you say, I'm going to do this. This is meaningful to me. And you were transformed in a way because someone was a stand for you. So one of the first questions I have this week as you're going for your goals and you're going for your thing is, I want you to take a moment and think about who or what are you really a stand for in this SLC push? Or SC2 push. Vector has so many acronyms, it's easy to mix them up.
It's all good.
SC2 push. Yeah, you can tell I'm really into pushes, right? But what I'm into is being a stand for people. And I know that there are people on your team that don't believe in themselves right now, that are doubting whether they can do this, that maybe their whole life no one's been a stand for them. And it's possible that you are the first person who's ever taken an interest in their success and what they're doing. Sometimes people don't trust this. They say, oh, that person, they just want me to sell more. So one of the questions I have for you is, how can you connect at a deeper level with your people? And what I've found sometimes that means, I have this thing, and Shelby will tell you that a lot of times when we meet in my office, I will move from around the desk, like from being across the desk, and I'll sit down with somebody. And my idea is I like to be with someone to really relate on a human level. So you're the manager, you have sales reps. If you can connect with people on a human level and really just talk with them as people and identify what's really important to them and what they want most, and people trust that that's where you're really coming from, I believe that that's when people perform and sacrifice and work at a level that you can never ask for. Many times, I'm going to keep using Shelby as an example. Many times when we meet, I'm not meeting with her to share with her that she needs to work harder. That's not Shelby's thing. Sometimes I worry that maybe she's working so hard that she's not taking care of herself. And I'll say, hey, how are you feeling about things? In the midst of this SC push, if you took a minute or two to connect with your rep and say, man, I know you're working hard. I know you're working to get demos. I know you're having good days and bad days. Hey, don't be afraid to do something nice for yourself. Take an hour, take a walk, take a workout, take a nap. I think when it's real that we care about how the person's doing, and that's bigger than the goal, I think people really connect with that. And that makes, I know when someone, recently, everybody, I lost my dad, and it's been a really difficult time personally. And, it's been a couple months, but every now and then someone will say to me, how are you doing? And I got to tell you, that means a lot because I'm working really hard at work. I'm a dad. I'm working hard at home. And sometimes it's easy to get lost in all the work. And it's nice for someone to see you as a human being who may be going through something. And everybody's a human being going through something. I promise you that. And we don't always know what it is. But the way, when someone asks me that, it makes me just want to work harder and be more loyal and, that's the kind of company Vector Marketing is. We have owners and leaders who are where they are because they've worked really hard and they've worked through a lot of challenges. So I want to share with you that, when you become that person to someone else in this SC2 push, when you become the person that is, not to coin a corny song, I like the song, I hate to admit it, wind beneath my wings. When you're the wind beneath with someone's wings, or when you lift someone up, I got to tell you, you may be first, second, or 50th at the push week, but when you look out in that audience and you see someone sitting there that wouldn't be sitting there without your influence and guidance, that's a real victory. Many of you are going to get notes and cards and emails and texts at the end of this summer, and you're going to be rich and wealthy in a way that all the money in the world isn't going to help. Hey, I'm a big fan of having funds and income to do the things that we want to do, but when it really gets to it, there are a lot of really lonely rich people. There are a lot of really lonely successful people, and I want to suggest to you that the real wealth at Vector Marketing is tied in with relationships and who you recognize and know and who recognizes and knows you. And so when you're working with your representatives, I want you to remind your people in the next period of time to get to know the customer. Don't come into that appointment with, a dollar sign on the customer's head, thinking of them as a signature or an ultimate. They're a human being with needs, feelings, problems, emotions, and your ability to help your reps connect with the people will help. And it really starts by you being able to connect with your reps. It's a tricky thing, everybody, when you're in a situation of leadership where your job is to help people perform at a high level. It's a tricky thing. And sometimes there's these textbook things of driving people and pushing people and digging in and gritting your teeth and saying, push, push, push. Sometimes pushing is stepping back and creating a space for people to be able to just get reset. That's why team meetings are so important. That's why PCs are so important. That's why the right placed phone call is so important. It's not about the push always. It's about creating a space where we can reset, to take a step backward to move forward. I mean, regardless of what your religious affiliation is, there's a lot of references in the Bible to the idea that, like, hey, even Jesus took 40 days to go into the wilderness. I don't suggest taking 40 days off in the push. But even Jesus took 40 days to take a step back so he could think about the task that was ahead of him. And it was a pretty big one. If you follow that historically, he had a pretty big job to do. And again, regardless of your religious beliefs, that's not the point here. The point is, in history, great leaders, great people take a step back so they can move forward. And sometimes that's just taking 15 minutes to write in your journal, set your intentions for the day of what the day is going to look like. Sometimes I get really nervous. I'm nervous today because I'm presenting at a meeting and I have really nothing to be nervous about. Everybody's friendly. But sometimes we get in our own head. And sometimes a day like that in the push week can be like that, where you're looking ahead and feel this pressure to perform and you got to get people going. So one of the things I try to do is I set some intentions on being kind, intentions on being a good listener, intentions on challenging people. So I thought about teaching you one thing that's been helpful to me in challenging people to achieve peak performance. And one of the things I think is really important is to get permission. As a boss, as a manager, it's so easy to tell people what to do, but sometimes I have to remind myself to say, hey, can I have your permission to give you some thoughts or insight? Is it okay if do you want me to be like a tough coach, a medium coach? Do you just need me to support you right now, or are you looking for advice? And I think sometimes when people come to us with their problems or their issues, I find this a lot in marriage. My wife is a really strong woman, and she knows what to do and how to do it. And sometimes she'll say, look, shut up. I just need you to listen to what I have to say. And I want you to know what's going on with me, but I don't need your advice. And so what's funny is sometimes when you let people talk out their issue or their challenge, sometimes I'll just ask her a question or two. And I think managing with questions is a way to help people find the answers that they already have inside of them. So someone will share with you what's going on. It's easy to give advice. One of the things I love to say to people, if they're in the process of sharing a challenge, I'll say, tell me more about it. What else is going on? What else? What else? Sometimes you need to let all the poison out before the wound will heal. And I feel like when we're working with people, especially in a high pressure situation like a push week, there's a lot of situations that aren't ideal that people deal with. So, hey, tell me more. A lot of times when someone is sharing something, I try to be empathetic. I understand push weeks are hard and selling's hard. I know that from being here all these years. And so do you as a branch manager. You know that it's tough. You've kind of gone through that already. But some people are learning it for the first times. And sometimes just saying to someone, yeah, it's not easy, is it? It's not easy, is it? And, reminding people, saying, what was your original goal for the push week? And I don't mean just sales, but what were you looking to get out of it? Reminding people of why it is they started doing something is helpful. And sometimes it's asking the question, how can I help you? How can I support you? Is there anything you need right now? These are ways to kind of bring intensity, but through ease to people as you're supporting and working with them. And so, I feel like, the last thing you guys probably need right now is the work harder talk, okay? Because I know what's required to get out and open up a branch and work through the dynamics of all of the challenges. And sometimes it's easy when you're the leader and you're the person, being a leader inherently is that you get to handle all the problems that nobody else can handle. So one of the things I try to do is set my mindset going into a day like, hey, you know what? I'm going to make a list. I'm going to make a check of 50. My goal is to help people through 50 challenging situations or problems today and help them move forward. Instead of looking at the problems as a problem, I try to look at it as, you know what? That person came to me this way and they left better than they came. Helping people move forward. When people, sometimes I remember being a manager and someone would call me in and maybe I was tired or exhausted or I was not in a good mental place and I hung up the phone and I felt better maybe because I vented or I really told them what they needed to do, but they didn't feel good and therefore they probably didn't perform. One of the magical things in life is if people feel good, they'll do good. And I think, you can be a tough, quote unquote, tough boss, but sometimes the toughness comes in the form of love and care. And I think when people feel that at times, it really causes them to really shift into another gear and another way of doing things. So, everyone, these are just a few thoughts today. I don't know it all. I'm not an expert. I don't know every challenge that you're facing. But what I do know is that people love being part of something. And if being part of your team means something to them, they're going to want to make you proud. If they know you care about them, they're going to go the extra mile. And it really starts with your care for yourself and, taking this step back to really think about what you're doing and why you're doing it and getting it to line up with something that, regardless of a sales outcome, you're going to feel good about. So I want to challenge you to really picture yourself right now standing on whatever stage, even if you don't get called to the stage. Who cares? It's only, we don't know how the seeds that we plant are going to grow. I've had experiences with branch managers where their first branch summer or even their second one, things weren't going exactly the way they wanted it to. That's the story for 95% of everyone in life all the time. And they look at a place where they were and where it seemed like it wasn't going well, but they can look back at that place and say, well, that's really when I started on the path to this exciting thing. And I know myself, there have been times in my life where I'm not exactly happy with where things are, but what I've learned is just to have faith that if I keep going and keep my attitude in the right place, if I keep helping people get what they want, it'll work. I find myself that sometimes I get so bored of myself because all I'm thinking about is what I want, what I need, what are people thinking about me? It's exhausting. When you get off self and on purpose, life just gets so fun. And that purpose is a wave that can carry you to a lot of places you never imagined. It's also possible that when you get yourself right and you're a stand for people and your mindset's right, results can happen that are extraordinary. Things you might never imagine happening happen. and you really experience the magic of, I know you guys have heard about the story, kind of being in that zone and that feeling of what it's like when it all starts working together. So, hey, if you're in the zone and things are good, don't listen to anything I'm saying. Keep doing what you're doing. But it's possible that maybe there was something here for you today. I'll just end again with where I started. Gratitude, Shelby, for you. Gratitude for a company that supports us, supporting people in a big way. Gratitude for branch managers for making a personal sacrifice to be radically sold out to the success of others. And, I just, for me, this is 29 years here. I get on my knees daily and thank God for the opportunity to be in a place where we really can help people move forward in life through this vehicle of selling Cutco. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you for being part of it. And Shelby, if you have any specific questions I'm not rushing off the phone here. I want to be sensitive that it's push week. People probably don't have time to watch an hour video from some old guy. So anything you want to ask me, I'm open to answering if you think it could help the group. And I'm also happy to let you go about your great work.
No, I think this has been absolutely incredible, John. So I want to say thank you for not just showing up today and giving the goods. Like this is really the goods. I really appreciate you doing all that and what you said. And I love the get off self and on purpose. That's going to be my Facebook status for today. I've decided. So thank you so much for showing up and thank you for giving me the opportunity to have these kinds of calls and to work with the branches the way that I do, because it really is my dream come true. So I appreciate you so much. You are the best boss I've ever had. Sorry, John Wasserman and David Kirkner, but John Kane takes the cake here.
Oh boy.
But I really appreciate you. Have an awesome day. Thank you so much.
You bet. By the way, that quote, off self on purpose, was from Mark Lovis, who was a champion here for many years. So I stole his quote because I loved it so much when I heard it. And it's a talk on Vector Connect.
Okay.
That every human being should listen to because it's really good. So anyway,
awesome.
Little pro tip for everybody. Shelby, thanks. We'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Thank you.
Bye.